27-second leaked audio is hard to listen to, but gives us our best clue as to what happened in the final moments of Ronald Green's life. That's Master Trooper Chris Hollingsworth giving a graphic description of the tail end of a traffic stop that happened just north of Monroe in May of last year. Troopers reported Green died after being hurt in a crash that ended the chase, but Hollingsworth's own words seem to tell a different story.
The fact that he could just talk so freely, so comfortably about beating a man to death shows how morally bankrupt he was.
Despite what the trooper can be heard saying in his own words from his body camera mic, none of those graphic details made it into the actual report issued by state police. Local NAACP President Eugene Collins calls it unacceptable.
From our perspective, that speaks to a deeper cover-up and something that we would hope and not expect from the premier law enforcement agency in our state, Louisiana State Police.
Tonight, Green's family is outraged, and attorneys who filed this wrongful death lawsuit are calling for change within Louisiana State Police.
I won't say what's on my mind, but I'm pissed. I'm so pissed.
We are now thoroughly convinced of what we eventually put into that complaint, that there was extreme misconduct involved in Ronald Green's murder.
The trooper involved recently died in a single car crash just hours after he was told he'd be fired because of this case. He was the only person who had been placed on leave amid an internal investigation by the agency. The audio related to this case leaked the same day another trooper, Kasha Domain, was indicted by a grand jury in Baton Rouge for shooting a teenager following a separate traffic stop. Jurors thought her version of what happened just did not line up with video of the incident, and community leaders say they are fed up with this happening time and time again. How many times can you get it wrong?
So what we're seeing now, Scott, is consistent lies within this department. There needs to be a shakeup within this department. Consistently have reports not matched up with what actually happened. And this is 2 instances in a week where we know for a fact the report did not match up with what actually happened.
While state police has told us they will not comment further on the matter, Collins...
Hey, how's y'all doing? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to the most hated show in the corner of YouTube. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to my fam, my subscribers and my day ones, and my new ones. What's good? Welcome to the Black Minds News Report family. Passerby, you happen to click on due to the thumbnail or maybe the title of the show. Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. We always got a grand opening over here. Happen to go down the aisle, see some things, make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. So as you heard in the intro there, it seems to have been an incident that happened in Louisiana, right? And so like we're always having these stories that some people will advocate on, that these are a figure of our imagination, that the statistics and data doesn't substantiate our claim. Now again, I will always say that black folks, BADOS in particular, Black American descendants of slaves or slavery, do not advocate, do not protest, do not march on behalf of criminality, wrongdoing. So let's get that straight for those who may think that Black Minds News particular and other black media outlets that are using social media to have their platforms, that we are constantly trying to stigmatize police departments and police individuals and officers. That would be the furthest thing from the truth. But we do have to report because we have the, let's say, the mainstream media, will do according to whoever is orchestrating that and have their perspective of why they do what they do. And they may not give an in-depth, connecting as what we do, what we try to do. So for those who may take offense, well, again, I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Let me say that again. I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. So we're going to go ahead and look into this. Again, remember, this was the thumbnail that might have gotten you over here to click on, right? And as you can see on the screen there, that is the brother named Ronald Green. Okay? And what we're talking about here is we're talking about a Louisiana state trooper who they claim now is deceased. Let me say that again. A Louisiana state trooper who is now deceased. He is heard in the video that I will play eventually in this broadcast of him admitting that he beat the ever living fuck out of a black man during the struggle that happened back in May 19th. No, not May 19th particular, but May of 2019. What they say, it was in a pursuit. And again, that audio that I'm going to play had came and was obtained by WAFB TV. And accordingly, this audio is coming from a body camera of the mic of the body camera of the trooper. And his trooper name that is now accordingly is deceased is Trooper Chris Hollingsworth, right? Now, accordingly, what the report says that Hollingsworth died in a single car crash last week. Ironic, right? Last week that he happened to demise based on, but there's more to this. Now, according, this crash happens after he was told he was going to be fired for the results of what took place with Ronald Green. Let me say that again. This trooper, Louisiana state trooper named Chris Hollingsworth, who was involved in what we're now finding out what has been revealed, and there will be some graphic pictures that you will see, right? And the fact that this Chris Hollingsworth, after being told that he was going to be fired as a result of what took place with Ronald Green, got in a car accident and supposedly he is dead. And so accordingly, it said the state trooper had died following a single vehicle highway crash. Now I said single, meaning he was by himself, right? But through my research, I looked and tried to find reports. I only have the connecting story, but I have not found an official story that, you know how news, when they talk about the local news, especially when you're talking about a state trooper, I'm pretty sure that would have had made, you understand what I'm saying? Would have made the general media news. Let's put it that way. They would have gave him his roses, right? Gave him his flowers. But according to what I searched, I didn't see any of that. So I'm just kind of saying, okay, this is what is being stated. Let's just keep that in mind, right? And so they said this is happening hours after he was told. Now, they say the week later the crash, but then another part had said that just happened hours after he learned he was fired from his role, which was in the custody death of a black man, which we know is Ronald Green. Now, that's two conflicting parts right there. One said it was a week later. The one said hours after the fact. So again, you know, somebody has always said that somebody, again, speaking with a forked tongue. Sometimes you can't always believe everything that is said. This is not to put anything or disdain towards whether Chris Hollingsworth has died or demise. Has not been substantiated other than the fact that it's been reported, right? We just have to go with that. So anyway, he's considered master troop Chris Hollingsworth, right? Said he was pronounced dead. Now again, he was pronounced dead, right? And accordingly, there was they said he had following a brief hospitalization. Okay, he was pronounced dead. So he got to the hospital. Then he was pronounced dead at the hospital. So he survived his car crash until he got to the hospital, right? Okay, that's what they're saying. So they say that the chief investigator name was Warren Lee from QUAOCHITA Parish, the coroner's office, right? According to what the background of that story is, that Hollingsworth had been airlifted to Shreveport early that Monday after the crash his personal vehicle. Now, he didn't crash while he was on the job. He was crashing his own personal vehicle, a single vehicle. The only people that seem to know is this, the person who's the coroner, right? Okay. And supposedly this happens on Interstate 20 near Monroe. But the police, according to records, have not released any details about the crash occurred. So, as I just said, I myself have looked. I seen some pictures of, let's say, a gathering of troopers to be holding, and somebody just happened to catch a picture of the flag, which I don't think I even have that. We don't have that, do we? We don't have that, do we? We don't have that, right? No. We don't have that. So, okay. We don't have that one, but I didn't want to do that for the simple fact that I'm not trying to glorify that. But what the fact is, I just seen a little suspect, you know, say some smell, a little stink in Denmark, but that's just me, right? Didn't pay me no attention. But again, I have not had anything to substantiate that other than reports. But anyway, let's go on. So again, the whole situation that they say is occurring and they want to keep reiterating to us is the fact that they want to make it seem like it's karma. Was this karma? Could it be karma, or is it a story? We can't tell. We just know, you know, I've had some people sometime come on this show and comment about things that have been reported, especially when talking about the Breonna Taylor case, right? A lot of people have talked about stuff and try to substantiate what they heard reports say, but then now that the grand jury tapes are out, where's these people's comments now? Why can't, you understand that you had Candace, what is it, Candace Owen, and others who went out here who talk about, you know, their position and what they took as what the stuff that they read, and to, you know, give this long dissertation about their perspective of what they felt. But then now that you have the comparative of what was actually given, and even though there's about 15 hours, but they originally said 20 hours, right? It said 20 hours, but only 15. Anyway, you go figure. So there may be four hours and some minutes missing. And that could be points that would be things that also, until you hear it all. But I'm actually going to go back, because I think for those who did hear, the first one and the second and third, well, I think the first two, the sound didn't come out clear. It seemed to have come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to redo those, whether you heard them or not. But I'm going to redo those and put them back out here so that we have in the archives to have the entirety for those who might be interested and go back. So anyways, get back to the story here. So again, this whole situation is based on the simple fact that Hollingsworth, he had received the word that they were going to terminate him, right? And there was an internal investigation. And they had came to the conclusion that, the case that happened with Ronald Green back in 2019 was mounting a lot of scrutiny, they were saying, right? And based on this scrutiny and all this attention that was coming, it was becoming the subject of a federal civil rights investigation, okay? So, is this a break the glass, get out of emergency? Okay, I'm only hypotheticalizing the situation because we don't really know. All we know is what's been told. Some people take the story, hooray, right? Hooray, right? And kind of throw a spiritual spin to it and everything. But I'm just saying, slow down, Speedy, slow down. You don't always take everything that has been said, because why? The possibility somebody could be doing a magic trick. I'm not saying it hasn't, it is. I'm just giving you something to, what they say, fat to chew on, right? Chew on that fat a little bit and think about it. So anyway, according to how they originally did, they said initially that the authorities had said Green had died from the crashing of his vehicle. Okay, they said he had crashed into a tree, right? That was what originally they had said, right? And according to this happened in the rural northern Louisiana. And he was being pulled over accordingly for some they said unspecified traffic violations. Now wait a minute. Ronald Green is now dead. Now that this Hollingsworth is now dead, but yet the night of what this was all about, what was the origin, right, of the initiation of him being pulled over, still to this day has not been substantiated. It is unspecified. Okay? And so we see that the Greens family has alleged trooper used excessive force, brutalized him while taking him into custody. Okay? There's going to be a graphic picture. Like, again, I really don't want to show this because of the respect of the brother. But, you know, in this day and age, I think we're going to have to do a lot of, you know, to keep people in some kind of awareness of mind, to know the season we are in, to understand the sign of the time. Because we can't be caught lackadaisical out here. We can't be thinking that these are, you know, separate individual incidences that have nothing to do with you pertaining to you and yours. Some people will even try it up and say it has nothing to do with race. Race is a figment, is a construct. They got every kickstand, propping themselves up to try to make that as real. They got every kickstand to say that's not real. Or that's an individual on, we don't know all the ins and outs, and he could have been anything but the simple fact of what keep reoccurring, right? When something keeps reoccurring after a while, it's not a theory anymore. It's not speculative anymore. There has to be something substantiated that we know. So let's just say, for instance, let me do this while we're talking about that. Go ahead and show that for me, sir. Because I think this here, when we're looking at these stories that are coming out and probably will continue to come out, let's say when they say about protocols, how things come from the top down. Remember this? Not too long ago, just a few days ago. Check this out. I'll be right back.
You repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you prepared to specifically
do it?
Well, go ahead,
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white supremacists. Like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his FBI, FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
No, we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
When a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody
Antifa
in your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
all right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump and Biden records.
They'll overthrow you.
All right, we are back, right? So everybody remember that, right? That debate, right? Stand back, stand by. Was that a dog whistle? Was that a dog whistle? A lot of people said it was a dog whistle. Now, somebody who may hear me don't know what a dog whistle is. So I'm not one of them people who assume that everybody knows everything. So I talk to those, you know, knee high to a grasshopper, as they say. and just grown folks in particular. So dog whistle is a whistle that is blown that can't be heard only to the dog. Only the dog can hear that, right? So sometimes people speak in code language that is pertaining to certain people or organizations and so forth. A lot of times that's where the hidden messages are when people are speaking. And when, you know, we talking about master words of art people, again, connotative language speaking people. So was that kind of saying, in a sense, he said to denounce, but he didn't really denounce. What he did is said stand back, stand by, right? So, you know, we've been told as time in this history, as we as BADOS in this land, that those who were used to wear the sheets turned the sheets in and, you know, somehow grafted into the departments, right? And are we saying that that is 100%? No, we have to look at everything. We have to look at the four corners of everything. We cannot, again, try to downplay anything. But if that's the militia, which is one group, but then you also have those who might be in the department, because again, here's a situation where a brother, Ronald Green, seemed to have been just driving in his vehicle. Because I realized this years back that, you know, a lot of times they started to change the way from just getting people off the street that they get you in your vehicle, right? So pulling you over, coming up again, we know all the, you know, your brake light out, right? Tail light out, air freshener in your window too tinted, you know, all that stuff to get you to A. Then B becomes speculative, because then again you could have some paperwork, something trailing you, so forth, and they come to situation, and then it's this thing that they keep using, and I'll talk about it as I talk more. So let me get back to the story. But again, remember, from the top down, right? So we see that a governor named John Bel Edwards, he's a Democrat. He was said in Louisiana, he was talking about the fact that the footage, that he has not seen the footage of what happened to Mr. Green, or even the footage of the accident with the trooper, right? And so they said, we'll make it public once the ongoing investigations are concluded. So in order for us to substantiate that, to validate what they said, we have to wait till they release. So right now it's kind of speculative, right? We know what's been told to us. And so we see that, you know, he keeps saying that, well, what then happens, the video will be shown, okay? And so we see that the Greens family had called for immediate arrest of the remaining responsible officers who were part of that tragedy and of this unnecessary death, okay? They are seeking for the others who were also there present that night to be, you know, somewhat. Now, let's go back, and should we go back now? Maybe we should go back now. We'll go back later. Okay, we'll go back later. Because again, what you saw in the beginning, you might have never, you know, came right in on you, but to give it another one, you know, give it a second one to you, I'm going to do that. So what we have is, we got the trooper Hollingworth's family, and they talking about how they got the finality of knowing exactly how he died, right? Now that's the troop, that's the master state trooper. The family has the solace of mind, heart, soul, and spirit that they can rest assured that they knew what happened, allegedly, what didn't happen, what happened to this Mr. Chris Hollingsworth. But when you look at the family of Ronald Green and seeing how they're being denied the same finality by the state of Louisiana, some people will say, well, it's just the process. It's not so much as into race, right? It's not a racial thing. Well, here it is. It's 2020. It's been over a year, been about 15 months or more, right? And just because of what done came out as into the photos of Ronald Green being in the hospital, do we have that? Do we have that? We got to make sure, see, we got that, because I don't want, you know, I really didn't want to do that one. I don't even know if we put that in there. Did we put that in there? We may not even put that in there, right? We may not even put that in there. No, we didn't put that in there, right? Well, go ahead and pull that up. Because I really don't want to show that. Because just the respect of the fact that this brother, and now that the story is coming out of how he went through that ordeal that night to, to his demise, right? So we want to kind of respect that. But again, I will show the video. And in it did show how Mr. Green was, he looked at the hospital, right? Or maybe preparing him for the autopsy, right? We can do it. All right, y'all. This here is going to be, a little unsettling for some people. Okay. And we do this not out of disrespect. We do this to give the information. Okay. You can see the brother, the bruises on his face. You can see on the top of his head, right? Okay. That's enough of that. That's enough. Okay. There's also another picture too. They show the more top of his head. But with that being said, so right, that's it's graphic in itself, right? And so what we see is that the Greens family has filed a federal wrongful death lawsuit alleging that the trooper brutalized Mr. Green, used a stun gun on him 3 times, and left him beaten, bloodied, and in cardiac arrest. And then to the fact that they want to do a cover-up of what actually caused him death, right? Because they want to tell us that it was a car accident, right? They want to say that what you saw, as what you just seen on your screen there, came from a car accident. But then let's go back and listen to the words that he had said on the report there. Well, actually, I don't understand how somebody got the mic, but there's no video. So I'm under the assumption that maybe sometime it might be some of our people inside who might be leaking. I want to give the benefit of the doubt of that. But also the second part of this show today is also speaking on the fact that it said our black cops sell out. Well, there was an article on that. But let's go back and let's hear the audio of what took place. And let's see if we can hear that, clearly. So check this out. I'll be right back.
The 27-second leaked audio is hard to listen to, but gives us our best clue as to what happened in the final moments of Ronald Green's life. That's Master Trooper Chris Hollingsworth giving a graphic.
Okay, so as he said, they was waiting on the third man to get there. They was beating the hell out of him till the third man, and then all of a sudden he just went limp. Okay, so accordingly, as I had already showed you, that the graphic photograph that you just seen, right? But then there's also the fact that there was a photo of the vehicle, right? To show that they don't match, right? Because that's what you got to look at, the car crash. Because that's where it's supposedly it's stemming from the fact that there was a car crash that created the image that you've seen in the photo. That's supposed to be, that. But once you see the vehicle that they show, as we're getting it prepared for you now so that you can see it. Okay. We're going to show you the vehicle so that you can see for your own eyes what they show, right? Now you see Mr. Ronald Green in there, right? And you see the vehicle. Do that look like that could have caused that kind of injury? especially on top of his head like that, right? Could look like that's more of a side swipe, more towards the back rear, driver's rear side, right? Probably give you, you might get a jerk, you might get a little, a little whiplash, right? But would it cause you to die? Maybe not. We don't know how fast he was going. But then once that photo came out, it took that off the table. Then mysteriously, after they start going into doing the investigation, once word got back that Hollingsworth was going to be investigated and going to be terminated, he just seemed to have disappeared, right? Okay. So we had to take the word for that, right? And so again, it was always raising the question whether Green received those injuries in a car crash. And this is what they originally told the family. So, here's Ronald Green, who's a 49-year-old, claiming by the police resisting arrest. Obviously, he had nothing in his background because I'm pretty sure they would have started mentioning that. They never mentioned anything that he had anything in his background. So he's resisting arrest over a traffic stop. Then had an autopsy. We hear nothing about drugs in the system, alcohol in the system. But we do see the finality of how he looked based on the ordeal. And we have the audio. We had the audio of what the state trooper had said. So we know that there was physical confrontation on at least on a unilateral side, on the side of the officers. We don't know whether Mr. Green was fighting back or not, but we do see the outcome. And that does not seem to match up with the car that you see on your screen, right? And so, accordingly, they said that the night of this all taking place, they supposedly did an internal investigation. But accordingly, they also say the agency opened an internal investigation into the case last month. Now, wait a minute. See, you got always conflicting stories. And that's the thing about what's happening now. This is why, in my sense, when I say the creator uses, black media and the other outlets and all those who do it to give a alternative to what one may put out, that again, we understand business and try to maintain some kind of, you want to look good in the public's eye, right? So they'll do the politically correct and they'll do the spin to take it away from what the truth of the situation is. And so social media has its place as an alternative to the fact that they even trying to muffle out a lot of our voices. A lot of people are being suppressed because, again, your perspective is not the perspective of the corporations and the institutions. You're trying to defame us. It's not we're defaming. We're only reporting the facts, how we see it, right? But they say being able to speak our truth. So anyway, we see that they supposedly, when they start to do this internal investigation, they place Mr. Hollingsworth on a paid leave. Now, I don't understand, it's like, I guess like in-school suspension, right? So those who remember get in-school suspension, is it really a suspension? Or I'm just taking me out of class and make me go down here and do 10 pages of math? Remember back in the day, those who've been around, I will not 100 times. You got so good at it to the fact that it takes, it's 25 on each line. So if I got to do 100, so that's 4 pages. Let me go on here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Mr. Blowman been there. So anyway, but that, that's kind of like what you're saying. So to give somebody a paid leave, it's kind of like putting them in school suspension. You ain't really missing that. In this case, it's not even that. Like what I just said, it could just be go to the detention and sit in there for the rest of the day. Okay, that's nothing. Some people say, I'd rather do that than do classwork anyway, right? So to get a paid leave suspension, okay, and then to come back and have no disciplinary actions, and none even against the 5 other state troopers that were involved. Nobody were reprimanded. None. So again, that photo just been released, right? That you see, that we don't want to sit there and, show as to being disrespectful to, Mr. Ronald Green, right? Rest in power, brother. So they said that this Edwards, he was saying that he was not comfortable in saying that the amount of time of more than 15 months has passed since the death of Mr. Green and the opening of the state police internal investigation, right? The only reason why they're doing an internal investigation is because of the photos that's been leaked. See, it's kind of like the same thing that's happened with the Breonna Taylor, so-called decision. If you take what everybody just be reporting, because again, are these institutions in connection with one another? There's a lot of people, I'll be listening to some of these shows, and a lot of people have these ideals of that the thing of history has shown you is not really real. It's just a block in your mind that it holds you down. Because if you got enough green, if we play the game of politics and you grease the pockets, as if somehow your uniform don't come into play. You understand? Isn't that what the whole point of the uniform is? To identify who's on who team? But we done took that out the equation and came with the, everybody. And we as BADOS in this land have been taking the blunt of trying to be having a utopia for everybody, but in the back of their mind and in the corners of who they fraternize and socialize with, guess what? They some fools over there. Yeah. But when it's convenient, when they need it, then, oh yeah, come on, let's hold hands. But any other time, they over here gathering up their own and doing for their own. So until we get that in our thick heads, then we're not going to be able to change too much. We're just going to have to be honest with that. We want to start looking at it. It's not trying to be racial. It's just simple fact that everybody is doing it. They just don't say it. Because we don't have institutions and places, we have to talk openly. We so open to the fact that sometimes you have people sitting in these Zooms and stuff and talking about things that I thought they should have been more of a more confined setting, but you have to do what you got to do because you got people from all over. And, black folks ain't got money like that. So you can't be doing that kind of thing. So at least the people who are really not being a part of the system like that. So anyway, so here it is. They drag their feet only because they're starting to move their feet now because that video come out based on what you can see of the accident, based on what you see in the photos. They don't match. So everybody had to start moving their feet and get something done. And so they want to say the politically correct things, right? They want to talk about, whether this continues to be most appropriate approach of how we do our procedures. I'm not sure, but we're going to take a look at things, and what we're going to do is we're going to make some changes that are necessary. See, that's the fluff, right? That's the nigga selling you oregano inside your pack of your weed. Yeah, that's just an analogy. But you know what I'm saying? Somebody put some oregano on your shit. You mixing your shit up and trying to, that's what that is, right? That's like going to Burger King, right? Go to Burger King and you hear somebody say, can I have a Whopper with no meat? Let me say that again. Like to order a Whopper with no meat. What do you mean, a vegetarian Whopper? Yeah, but I don't need that. Why are you saying Whopper? Whopper got meat. Ain't that what the whole point of the Whopper? No? Okay, but that's what I'm talking about. So that's what they're giving you, right? Not the substance to it. Just want to give you something to make it seem like that's what you're getting. And, it's getting played out. When you really think this, it's really getting played out. But some people just think that, that you haven't called on to the game. Now, you're talking to a people who've been here from the beginning of the creation of this and before then, right? So you think we don't know? That's why a lot of people are so angry at us because they can't, they be mind boggling. You just hear some of these people who speak against black and the black stance, and you'll hear them say this all the time. I just don't understand it. You know why you don't understand it? Do not cut like we cut. We cut from here. We ain't cut from somewhere. Oh, our parentage is cut from somewhere. Our parentage have been here this whole damn time. Except for the part that y'all always want to throw in. Oh, you guys came from Africa, from the West Coast, and you got here. Okay, with an exception to that, once we got planted here, there has been none unless you have relationships and things that have people and children and so forth. Then that comes into play. Other than that, when it just comes in hereditary and lineage-wise, there is no cut. There is no fluff. All right. So again, as we heard in that audio, right? He goes in and says that, Mr. Green is spitting blood everywhere. And then all of a sudden he goes limp. See? You know what I'm saying? To be in that situation and knowing what y'all doing, and then all of a sudden it's a mystery why this person goes limp. When you're out there, as you say, beating the living F out of him, right? Fuck out of him. I ain't gonna say the F, we're gonna say what it is. So, to go limp, as mysterious, like, well, how did that happen? What was y'all just doing to him, right? What the hell was y'all just doing? Now, here it is, once again, you hear these words, right? Coming from a body camera mic, but we don't see no body camera. This is still 15 months later, right? Right? And when they went to write the reports, y'all, when they went to write these reports, guess what they were missing in the reports? The whole detail about what that took place. They just made it about he hit a tree, had an accident, we took him to the hospital, and he died. But until you heard that soundbite that you heard, and then the video will be sometime later after they're sitting down trying to figure out how they're going to do this. When you see that, then to say mysteriously that he heard that, then all of a sudden he had a single accident by himself, and then he been pronounced dead and all this other stuff, and then he had a private ceremony. Okay. All right. Some people going to run with that. I'm just here to tell you. That's all. I'm just here to tell you. So anyway, let's take one of them and then be right back. For those who new sitting over here, check this out. Be right back.
According to the initial police report, on May 10, 2019, Ronald Green failed to stop for a traffic violation, led police on a chase, and ultimately crashed his car. The report said he was not wearing a seatbelt, resisted arrest, got into a, quote, struggle with troopers, and died on the way to the hospital. The coroner ruled his death accidental. But the family says these pictures of the relatively minor damage to Green's car and Green's bloody body after he passed tell another story. Now represented by a prominent civil rights attorney, they've filed a wrongful death lawsuit alleging police caused his death, not the accident. They commissioned an independent autopsy and believe police tased and beat Green to death, and say troopers have refused multiple requests to release the officer's body cam video. Now the FBI is investigating, and the state police have launched their own internal investigation. Green's mother is both angry and optimistic.
I won't say what's on my mind, but I'm pissed. I'm so pissed. But I'm a good pissed because we're going to get results.
I want to apologize for seeing the thumbnail. It says September the 4th, but when you see the thumbnail, it's going to say the 5th. But anyway. So anyway, that was there. You heard from the mother, and you see that Lee Merritt is on the job with his ESQ on his title, right? So we see that the fact that that in that video, you hear him talking, beating a man to death, right? And announcing it across the airwaves, right? So kind of, the insignificance of the life and what you just did and didn't matter. It's like, okay. It's like some people will just say that police do no wrong, that everything that they do is by law within the parameters, and that we as human beings, right? We as human beings don't lie, right? Now, again, that's the thing here, because brother you're going to hear again when I play that one more again, he's going to talk about the fact that, a morally corrupt as he was. He talking about Collins, the Hollingsworth, right? And then he's saying from the perspective that they're looking at to speak of how this cover-up, how deep this cover-up, that he would hope that this premier law enforcement agency in the state of Louisiana wouldn't have this kind of corruption in it. It's just the fact that you have people that have this kind of power that just can't seem to be reprimanded, right? It's kind of like having a child that there's different schools out here and there's different parents from different ethnicities. Now, we as BADOS, we know about corporal punishment, right? We know about the whooping, right? We know about that, right? We know about spanking. I don't know about that spanking. Whooping, right? You get that whooping, you get the ass smack, right? Anyway, so we know about that. Now, some people will contribute that the way we learn that is from through our ordeal being on the plantation, right? And then they gave us that, Bible that was solely to brainwash and make us be subservient, right? And so we inculcated that and put this as part of our rearing. So whether it's a single parent or two parent or grandparents, right? Times they had to pull out the strap on you. And I don't mean the gun, I'm talking about the strap. Before it was called strap, was the strap with the belt, but then now strap came. Anyway, we ain't talking about shooting the kid. But you know what I'm saying? Establishing some kind of authority to make you have to contemplate on what you did so that when you go there, you remind yourself, oh shit, I don't want that. But what happens when you take that away and there is no, we understand what that, we just looking at children should understand that. So what happens when you got grown men who cannot or even have the mindset to even think that there is no repercussions for what I do? Then you're going to get what we're seeing. And the fact that a lot of them are bringing luggage about the rearing and the teachings that they had prior to them becoming in the profession. Let me say that again. A lot of times these mugs are bringing in the luggage that what they learn from either the society they're in, the parenting that's been taught, the curriculum that is associated with stand back, stand down. Now they're in a profession that deal with people who naturally you have an inclination to have opposition with them. And so how do you separate that from just the normal, just seeing somebody and not looking at them as some kind of target, an opposition, a threat? How do you separate that? Can you separate that? Is the person capable of doing that? So now when they get into a situation and maybe you had a hunch, and that's not to take away your police instinct, but you had a hunch and you seen somebody, nice car, black dude. You're riding the plate, but you can't get nothing. So you got to come up with something because they said now it says seatbelt. Huh? Oh, the old seatbelt one, right? I never understood that. I understand to make that a law But if I come to court and he's gonna got me in there because of a seatbelt, because you know they're gonna add some other stuff because they know damn well that looks suspicious, right? I done been to court for seatbelt, no seatbelt, loud muffler, and an air freshener. The 3 tickets that I'ma say that again. I done been to court. Cop gave me a ticket for air freshener. When you know I had the 8 ball in the window, right? Air freshener, no seatbelt, and a loud muffler. Now, all those there are discretionary tickets, if you ask me, right? That's on the discretion of the officer. To give me a ticket for an air freshener, calling it obstructing my view. Wait a minute. Wouldn't I be the first person to think that if I'm driving in my vehicle, that an air freshener is in my view that's blocking me from driving? Wouldn't I be the first one? You don't have to tell a grown person, you know that's obstructing your view. That's why they stopped writing them tickets though, right? Because we was coming up in them courtrooms, I was sitting in there, 5, 10, 15 people come with the same bullshit ass ticket, right? Seatbelt, again, your word I had on. He said you didn't. Because he's part of the institution, tie goes to him. Now you in there battling about a seatbelt. But how did you get to the seatbelt? Huh? Shit. Oh, you had a loud muffler. Now, let me tell you the last part to this that I didn't tell you. I was in there pumping gas in the damn gas station. What? Huh? You get what I'm saying? So these be sometimes the situations that police officers who just got a natural disdain towards you, they use all the tools and the repertoires in their book to put you in a situation, to try to show their power. Because again, maybe you say, all right, man, I mean, I'm in here pumping gas. What are you talking about? Right? So here it is in a situation, you chasing him down, and it comes. I heard in one report said about a seatbelt. How are you seeing that? And you driving your vehicle, how are you seeing that? You get what I'm saying? And then it's a chase. He run, crash into a vehicle. Then after all that's been done, guess what happened, y'all? We still can't substantiate what the traffic ticket was about. We don't have nothing about he had any warrants. We don't hear nothing about no drugs. We don't hear about nothing else. So this man dead on a traffic stop that turned deadly over what? Over what? So now, to get out of the situation, we're going to say the creator snatched you. All right. That's what they want us to believe. Maybe it did, maybe it did. I can't say it did, I can't say it didn't. I can't say that. We know what the reports say. But it's just coincidence, right? Coincidence. That some people say, hey, that's Ogun spirit, and some say that's karma, right? Could be. Or it could be the fact, ain't trying to do this bid. Ain't trying to do that damn bid. Let's do a Machiavelli. Right? So anyway, you know, ain't too much else going on, because again, you got morally corrupt people who do not sympathize with you. Now, there's a brother that talked in the article, and he was talking about how the fact that, you know, pulling him over to lie and say that it was from the car accident. You know, why do we keep seeing consistently of these stories coming up where there's a fabrication as into the events? But then you have a lot of people who will try to defend them when it's obviously they're wrong. But no, it's always to take everything that is said originally, because again, when we look at the dynamics of police officers that are in the force, and there's a predominantly white male, let's say organization or departments. So we would say that, again, according to the data of the United States, supposedly there's more white folks than everybody, right? And so if there's more white folks than everybody, then I guess it would be statistically right that there would be more white police officers policing. And so with the dynamic of the history and how people are, and then they want to say there's only a few bad apples. My understanding about that whole bad apple in the barrel, didn't they say that one bad apple in the barrel spoils the whole bunch? Let me say that again. Didn't they always say that one bad apple in a barrel will spoil the rest of them? So to say you have a few bad apples, which means that doesn't spread and they end up becoming what as the entirety? Because what end up happening is you have good people that may be in there, but then everybody else may unify and got their cliques. You don't want to be outside the clique. Because there's stories have been told about, you could be in a situation and somehow you mysteriously got somebody that popped you. Right? So it's just strange that these things, I ain't gonna say strange, it's just a wonderment that these things keep falling out because the truth needs to be told. But the people who supporting them, you taking it because y'all are the majority. These are your family. These are in the classification of being white. So they have to be right. You understand? Anybody remember that cartoon that used to come on called Colonel McBragg? Remember that? Colonel McBragg. There I was in the jungle, driving around in my nice police car, in my nice shiny suit. What did you do, sir? I seen some Negroes walking down the street. You understand? They come back to their people telling those type of stories. So when they keep embellishing all those stories about how they encountering and what they doing with us, remember, they're Marvel comics. They're mythology people. So this stuff here, to them, it becomes substantiated and real to them. Not knowing that the devious part to some of them and the things that they're doing to create these scenarios, they leave that part out. So what end up leaving in the minds in their people is we're all bad. We're all fighting. Just like they keep saying, resisting arrest. You ain't gotta be resisting. He just said you're resisting. You don't have to be resisting arrest. They just say that. They ain't got nothing else on you, so you're resisting arrest. Yeah, because you said so. You know they can get me before the judge and I had to fight this damn shit. No one can say, because we talking about even when there wasn't no cameras. Right? I think that should be a default on any case that pertains to a situation where it either caused bodily harm or it's a situation that cannot be actually validated other than the words of the police officer. That's what the camera supposed to be for. The impartial, the referee, the one that is basically, the camera is the referee that does not have any bias. It's going to tell it like it look again. I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. The truth don't need no part. That's what the camera is. But why is it that they have a hard time now want to have the damn camera with them? You ever understand that? The people who are about truth, law, and order, but the thing that can substantiate and validate everything that they say, they have a hard time having that damn camera with them. Why is that? But then when we sit here and say, hey man, this is a lot of BS that they're doing, woo, then they be like, you know what? You guys always lying. Oh, we lying. Well, then put the camera on and let the camera tell it what it is. Then what you have is mum's the word. Now that the grand jury done released it, have y'all been hearing anything white people talking crazy about Breonna Taylor now? You ain't hearing that now, right? Mum's the damn word. Where's Candace Owen at now? Where's all the mothers? I'm talking about that now. Where y'all at now? Oh, he shot first. Well, yeah, but there was a Glock 40 caliber 22. What about that now? See? No, we don't be lying about no situation. It is what it is. But, you got to do what you got to do because why? Only God, only the Creator know why y'all do what y'all do. Because y'all ain't going to never tell the damn truth why y'all do what y'all do. But anyway, so this brother is dead. And to I guess to make the matters equal, they both before the Creator now. Chris Hollingsworth is now dead, right? So it's both of them is charged to the game, and I guess the 5 other ones they didn't. Unless the one of them that was there the night that was doing the beating, maybe he probably gonna get some kind of reprimand. But other than that, charged it to the game, right? So we get tired of doing these stories. because we're seeing our people. Not because I get tired of reporting. You just get tired of just seeing the same old monotonous. The same old MO how somebody moving. They keep doing the same old thing and thinking they're going to get a different result. That day and time done changed where you can't just say that no more and it won't be substantiated. There are things that you supposedly, technological things, that should be used, but it seems like the people who are supposed to be using it don't want to use it. And you have to ask yourself the question, what is it that you don't want to be seen? What is it that you don't want to contradict what you want to you want to report as the truth, but don't be the truth. See, if it's synchronized with the video show and what you say, guess what? You good all day long. But when it contradicted, then you got to say, what's the motives behind what happened on that night? Oh, this situation here. And that's what nobody don't want. They want full reign authority to concoct it the way they want it to concoct it, regardless of what it inconvenience or the death it may cause. And we're supposed to say honorable. It may be considered an honorable position, but that don't mean that you can have unhonorable people in that position. That's where you get corruption, right? You got people in position that's supposed to be looked upon in a high esteem or some kind of honor, but then it's the individuals. And then you start getting other individuals. And then what you start getting, again, the rotten apple and the barrel spoils the whole bunch. All right, so ain't no need to talk about no more about that. But there's another part to here I want to talk about, right? It goes synchronized with this because why? You gotta look at it like this. This is how you're gonna have to look at it because it was a report that came out and it was talking about. Will you pull that up for me, sir? Pull that up. The other one. Yeah, that one. Pull that one up. Okay, hold on. Yeah, pull that up. All right. Now this here is about sellouts to the black community. Traitors to fellow officers. Black police chief are caught between two worlds after George Floyd's killing. Let me say that again. Sellouts to the black community. Traitors to fellow officers. Black police chiefs are caught between two worlds after George Floyd's killing. And let us take this break and we shall be right back. Check this out. All right, we are back, right? For those who are a little slow in your hand, hold something on the screen for me. Go ahead and throw something in the pot for me, right? Trying to bring these stories out for you. So we're going to talk about this here, right? Because they feel like this is an issue. And is it an issue? Is it really an issue? It probably is an issue. I wouldn't say it's not an issue. It has to be an issue. And the reason why it's an issue is not the fact that you may be a sellout, right? It's not that you're a sellout. It's just that it's a peculiar situation that you're in, right? Just because of the history, right? It's the history that one has been in. That you're there, and then I'm going to let you hear what they say about why they use you, which I think y'all probably know. But some of y'all don't want to hear that. Y'all want to think that, no, man, you're just on that racial stuff, right? Just on the racial stuff, right? So they talked about the fact they said there's about 21 police departments in America's 50 biggest cities. They said they hold black men or women, right? And they're talking about as chiefs, right? Those, the HNIC, right? HNIC, head nigga in charge, right? Anyway. Now, They say oftentimes a black police chief is brought in after a high-profile conflict between the black community and the police. Now, think about that. Oftentimes, right? So your promotion to being a chief is because, why? Situations then arise in the department that then created an outcry by the community. And if you have a white HNI, HCIC, right? Head Caucasian in charge, right? The HCIC, right? So, or the HHIC, figure that one out. But anyway, all right. So anyway, so if you have a white policeman chief, then these situations that, start to fester and get big, they pull card is what? Let's pull Johnson up. Jackson. Let's pull one of them up, right? Pull them up into the position because why? Right? He's black. He speaks their language. He knows Ebonics well, right? You know how to do it, right? So anyway, and so what you have is this situation, what they end up doing is to make a chief who's put in that position find himself walking a tightrope, right? Think about it. You're seeing tightrope, right? You're trying to stay Eddie, trying not to lean too much to the left, right? You're trying to stay right down the middle, right? Is that possible? You know that the word says that you can't walk the fence. It says even the fence belongs on one side. You can't serve two masters. Don't it say that? Don't talk about you cannot serve two masters. So that means if you got two masters, you're going to hate one and love the other, or love one and hate the other. And that's what puts you in a peculiar situation. And then to help you to do what? Struggle to bridge a gap between the black community and the police department. Because the black community are going to talk from the perspective of the things that are being done to it by the department. Whether they're going to acknowledge it, whether it can be validated or not, they're going to be saying, hey, wait a minute, man. You know what? They got complaints and they're talking to you. Now, again, you work for the community as well, but then these are the employees who you are the HNIC of. And you have, let's say, relationships with them. They could be personal or it could just be platonic. It could be employed. All those things come into the equation. And so you try to have good camaraderie. To be a good leader, you got to have good camaraderie with those who you're leading over. And so if one of them is doing something that you got to reprimand them with, you don't want to go, it's kind of like the difference between parenting and abuse, okay? A parent can, again, as I talked about earlier, about corporal punishment, a parent can spank a child, but there's a limitation as to the severity of it, the amount of it, and the message relayed in the spanking. Those who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Abuse is when you don't know, when you don't have that, when you're doing things that are out of bounds as into rearing. Then it becomes abuse. You get what I'm saying? So that's what happens when these chiefs and being black are in these situations. You have to sometimes whoop somebody in a way, but then the way that you are, let's say, chastising, I'm not going to say take the whooping away. The way you're chastising them may be soft-handed. It's not getting anything done. They done went through this with you several times, and you don't seem to know how to really do it. So they say when you start to now put them in a situation that it calls them either to possibly go to jail, lose their job, now they say you're abused. Now that's like abuse to them. But that's kind of like them using that as a card to get out of situations so that they don't have to be responsible for, right? So hell yeah, as a black cop, as a black chief, you're going to have issues with that, right? And so what the story is talking about the Sacramento police chief. They're talking about Daniel Hahn, right? And, talking about Sacramento, we're talking about this reform in his department and all the faces that he challenged as being a black law enforcement leader, right? And they talked about I think they say they're talking about experts on race and how the challenges that a black police chief have to navigate the two communities and that don't really fully accept him. That's because it's a conflict of interest, right? Look at the origin of the police department, right? Where it's systemic from. From the patty roll, right? From the patty roll. So its origin has something to do with you and your people and how to keep them in these areas to be brutal, whatever it took to maintain what they say law and order. Now you take on the shield, the uniform, the spirit, embodiment of it, and yet you're trying to have, compassion when the organization in itself is not really for those people. And that's where the conflict is already embedded in its establishment, right? And so he said he never wanted to be a cop, right? Right? He had grew up in Oak Park in Sacramento. It's a historically black working class neighborhood in Sacramento. And he recalled that his interaction with the police were largely negative, like majority of us growing up. Now, again, Daniel Cameron, those who've seen the video that I did, he said he never had that. He never had any bad experiences. That's good. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We're not trying to say that we're just saying. But many of us have had it, right? Again, we go up in our communities and we're being policed by people, again, who have a natural inclination to have some kind of disdain towards us. Now, whether they're all going to admit it or not, that's another thing. So again, how do one separate the baggage, luggage that they got and when they on the job? That's something that, I don't know whether they even think about it, but I guess they just want to, get officers and got to take who can pass the test and who can do the stuff. But then what kind of, character the individual got will only time will show as the repetitiveness of complaints and all these situations keep arising, right? And then there's a decision that got to be made. And not to get dire, then anything really get changed. But anyway, so the article had talked on more about the fact that he said when he was 16, he remembered a time when he was arrested for assaulting an officer in his living room, right? This was 16. He said he got an assault with he got arrested for assaulting an officer because he got in an argument with his mother, right? That's what he recalled, but he don't go and elaborate anymore. But in that, you admitting the fact that you assault the police officer. We don't know all the ins and outs, but that's all he has said. So, okay, that was, he said, his first encounter with police. Got in an argument with his mother. The mother called the police. That's something today we got to look at. Calling the police is like Russian roulette, right? If you call them on a situation that is an argument and people going to say some things that they don't mean to say, you know how arguments are. Get all that shit up out you. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes it's parent and child, like you get yourself up out of here. But if you call that police, understand you are calling Russian roulette. And if something should go bad on that situation, you're going to be the one living with that. So we always got to keep that in mind. He talks about how in his neighborhood, he's seen prostitutes used to hold court on the street corners in his neighborhood, right? He said he remember witnessing murders and seeing regular drug deals. Okay, well, that's everything you do talking about are the environments that were created because of lack their employment opportunities and all. So prostitution, right? Drug dealing, murder due to either somebody not paying, did some fuck shit. All that shit that's just the conduciveness of the environment that we had to always be a part of, right? So to say that is trying to give validity, again, the things that people don't want to admit, the fact that our conditions of those of us who live in those conditions are based on design that was made for us to be, redlined and put in these little positions and then kind of make us like Haiti. You get what I'm saying? And that's no knock to Haiti, if anybody from Haiti hear that. That's not saying a knock, but saying how the world has isolated you and made you where you can't do nothing to keep you in that condition to make you poor and, out of it. But anyway, so And he said, recalling that in his neighborhood, that officers were not held in high regards. Well, of course not. Again, we as BADO, Black American Descendants of Slavery, and the history of the petty roles that emerged and evolved into the police department, how could we have ever had high esteem when, even though these may not be the same people, but it's still the same agenda? Whether you're going to admit the shit or not, we know what it is, right? And so he says that he recollects the fact that he was turning down police recruiters several times, right? And he decided to go ahead and took that entrance exam. He learned that the job paid $5 more. Now look at that. See, he was already working somewhere, but it was going to pay $5 more than what he was working. So again, when you talk about lack their opportunity and economic accessibility, right? And somebody give you $5 more, the $5, right? Say if you make it $5 and you're going to make 10. If you got 10, I'll make it 15. If you make it 15, make it 20. You understand? $5 will make somebody, I'll do that for a while. Right? So he decided to say, well, you know what? I'm trying to go to college. So I'm going to go ahead and join. And this will help me pay for my college. He was 19 when he did this, right? So he was thinking, right? That's why you end up getting in a position. So you're a thinking man, right? And so here it is, 33 years later, right? 33 years later, he's been on the force, right? So he haven't quit, right? And he said what changed his mind about not wanting to really be a police is that he said he believed that working as a neighborhood police officer, and he said he was teaching at a local high school as a rookie, right? So he was a teacher and a cop. Wow. Very unique, right? And so he started realizing that there was a lot of good he could do as an officer in the community. Now, that's why I had said racialized policing. Black, you put Chinese cops in Chinese areas, white folks with white folks, black folks with black folks, and you probably wouldn't have as many of these situations that we see on the regular. But what it ended up happening is, if you put these same cops and put them where they had to be amongst their people, we might see what the real problem is. I'm not saying that there ain't no black cops like boys in the hood. Well, you got 30 cuz? Well, you one of them rolling Crips? You black skin. Remember that cat? You get him, it don't matter what side you know what I'm saying? That cat right there, when you on the other side, he's like, hello, good name, sir. Right? But when he with you, I can't stand your black skin. Huh? So you get that kind of mother, it don't matter whether he in the black neighborhood. So we want to weed them type out, right? But you're going to have those. Again, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have them. And sometimes you need them because you're going to have some people in the communities who need a bug like that. You give it a sense? So it's not, it balances, but when it start getting into citizenry who will just, L7, just squares, just doing what they doing and you coming and doing that, that's where the problem comes in at. So if you racialize the police, black people could patrol black people, guess what'll happen? The other ones won't have as many arrests. You probably start having to get rid of some of them because you don't need them. And black ones, you'll be more, because you're doing those arrests that are still doing the fuck shit they doing. You'll move up and you'll be in all in the ranks. So it'll balance itself out, right? They ain't trying to do that. So anyway, they talked about the fact that when you look at the rise of police chief, they say the rise, right? I don't know what they mean, but they say the rise of it. That again, as I was talking about earlier, talking about the male, white male, and they about in 2016, they said statistically, they said that 71% of the officers that took the survey by the Bureau of Justice Statistics were white, and 87.7 were male. Ain't that something? Right? 71% and 87% of the 71% were male. And so, but yet they say you're starting to see increasingly common to see black men and women leading police departments across the country. Well, why is that? We know why that is. Same thing why you want to put Barack Obama and get him over in Africa. Because your rapport, right? Your history, people saying they ain't trying to deal with him no more. So you think that if you put somebody in that position that look like them, that somehow that represents them, but they don't understand that even when you say we had a black man in the White House, but it's still massive business. Let me say that again. Just because you put Barack Obama in the White House and all them people was elated and happy and crying, he was doing nothing but massive business. Check. All right. So Han is among the 21 black police chiefs who served in America's 50 biggest cities, as they talked about, right? They talking about, right? And so the rise of black police chief, they say, is basically more about the political response to the historic tension between police and black community. As I've been saying, right? We got a history. Police and black people, not just black communities, because there's immigrant black communities. They may have their problems, but they don't have the same problems as black communities, right? And that's been a system that's been entrenched since our encounter with them, right? And so what they say is that a lot of times what you do is they get a mayor or the city manager, and what they want to do is they want to hire a black police chief, right? Based on the simple fact that you get a high profile conflict that's going on in our communities. This is what they want to do. When they're going back to 1992, when they're talking about Rodney King, right, and the Los Angeles riots, right? When you go back to Ferguson, when you see the Mike Brown situation, right? So they start, then now what you get is you get your first black police chief because of what happened with Michael Brown. Because why? Of the situation that took place. So everybody like, hey man, so they thinking that, think about how they're using you. They're putting you in a position that doesn't really change it. It's kind of like those who heard the video and the story that I did about the Freeman Bank. And remember how they did our ancestors and took the money, depleted the money from out of them. And then what they want to do when they started learning that the bank was failing, they went to run and get their money out. They didn't want them to do a bank run. So what they did is they got Frederick Douglass, right? Made Frederick Douglass the president bank. The president of the bank, right? And he put $10,000 in the bank to reassure black people. Now, see, why would I put $10,000 in this bank if this bank was failing? So that's just hearsay. It's just conspiracy. You know how they do it. Yes, right? And then Frederick Douglass started looking at the damn paperwork. He's like, God damn, this is a corpse, right? And shit, next week he was bust, gone, lost his 10. I was like, damn, Frederick Douglass had $10,000 in 18. What? But anyway, right? So that's what they're doing with you here. Situations arise when the black people get stirred up. They believe using a black face somehow is going to quell the situation. But the game done got old now, right? That game is old. So what you've seen after the George Floyd situation, you've seen a flood of resignations from black police chief. You've seen in Dallas, you've seen that, what name is Yusha Renee Hall. She just left on September 8th, but there was all else. So that's also over there with what was her name? Oh man, I can't think of her name. It'll come to me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. In Dallas, remember? Sister got shot looking out the window. Police shot her. Remember that? And matter of fact, you got a lot of stuff that happened over there in Dallas, right? But anyway, she left. She was criticized for her use of force against Black Lives Matter protesters, right? They had that LaRon Singletary, that was out of Rochester police chief, for the cover up. They were saying of the Daniel Prue situation. You had in Seattle again, you got this, you had Carmen Bess, right? Her resignation back in August, right? Because she said she left because they was cutting the department's budget, right? And so this recent pressure that has been come on them makes it hard for you to be in that position because why? The people are getting tired of being brutalized and being the scapegoat and being the poster for everything wrong when a lot of times when the truth come out, it's not what has been reported. It's not what's been said. It's not what's been propagandized. And then it repeatedly keep happening. So it doesn't matter the fact that you being a black police chief in those positions. What's going to end up happening is you're just going to resign and this is going to be same old business as usual. So it's a hard position because it's an impossible position to be in. You can't tightrope that. You either got to stand for what truth is or you're going to teeter-totter and try to make ways to make everybody happy. And they done already told that. It's already done said. You can't do that. It's impossible. So you can't clean things up. You can't alleviate or eliminate racial tension by trying to teeter it. Not for some people who've been in here for 500, half a thousand years or more, right? You can't keep talking to us like that. You can't try pussyfooting around with people when we're not seeing that the score is we're getting blew out. And they thinking that putting you somehow on their team is going to help us to be able to score more points. Let me say that again. They acting like, okay, we in a game and we get blew the hell out. It's like 88 to maybe 5. And they think by putting you on the team, it's kind of like, say, take a scrub that we put and throw them on their team. That's going to help us to somehow score more. But you still got the other cats on the team that's playing too, right? They just not in your position. You just the head coach. How they gonna make any damn changes? It can't. It don't. It just don't, man. You understand? So it's not that you're a sellout because of that. It's because of the position you hold. It makes you a person with not a stable mind of loyalty. You can't be here. You can't be there, right? It's either across the board or it's not at all. And so to say that a sellout, it's not really being a sellout to the community. It's a position that you can't work both sides. And even that you being inside, being there 33 years, there's a situation that you have probably alleviated that was good because you were there, and the ones that are. But again, the numbers speak that is more. They are the predominant, and because they are the predominant, guess what ended up happening? They're going to overrule, even though the fact that you are the coach, you are the head HNIC. They are the ones that are having the ordeals, and you get the aftermath, and then you're the one trying to clean it up. So it don't help. It doesn't help. The only way it can help is to make it what? Racialized. Then we can pinpoint it now. It's not about race. It can be hatred. It can be a mug black that just don't like black people. We can figure that out. But when you got white people and them got luggage, and we don't find out till a whole bunch of stuff that's gone down, guess what will happen? We be the carnage until you figure it out. And then at the end, all they do is lose their job. I would call that justice. So anyway, y'all tell me what y'all think, man. There's more to it, but I done went long enough. And, are you a sellout? I wouldn't say you're a sellout. I just think that it's an impossible job to call yourself to be loyal to your race and be loyal to your profession when the profession that you hold has a history with the people that you have a loyalty in your race. So it's a conflict of interest. As a natural conflict of interest, even though you may not have one, but just in the origin and the nature of what the establishment of that institution does, you're not going to be able to make it right until you can control the aspect of the individuals who are daily encountering with the people. Then maybe that can work. But until then, you got this mixed bag of fruit and all that amongst. They carrying luggage. They're carrying things that come from a perspective, ethnicity's belief. And then they coming amongst us and they harboring these things. And then we're going through the process, trying to, show our innocence. So that can never work out the way it's supposed to. So I will say y'all not a sellout, but I just say that you guys are put in a position and they know they got you in a hard ass position. So this and be right back. All right. Well, thank each and every one of you for clicking on the video. Thank you for your support. Hopefully that you comment, share, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that button, that notification. As well, We are trying to come on the regular uploads and lives on the frequent. So stay tuned for that. And again, this is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. And again, you know what we say over here. We ain't gonna never tell you what we heard. We only gonna tell you what I know. Until the next show, y'all. Peace, love. Until the next show, y'all. Stay up, stay on, and be prepared. To the next show, y'all. To the next show.